is gone. All my love is gone. Now you're dead and gone.
Hello Coco Squad, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing a voiceover of Wattpad stories. I'm too untalented to write these, so no credits to me, except editing of course. Let's get into it, besties. Sophie had gotten herself into some deep shit. Well, she had gotten herself a little too deep into this shit. Well, we should probably go back to how all this happened. Sophie let out a huff, as she sat in on the most hated classes ever, a class that all of mankind feared themselves. That's right, I'm talking about maths. Every kid born in this generation hates it, except some. That's why they are called nerds. Anyway, Sophie had been staring at the clock on the classroom wall, waiting for it to strike 3:05, not really bothering to write any notes down on the finals, eyes totally focused on the clock, and not been caring if she looked a complete creep. As soon as the bell rang, Sophie was off her feet and packing up all her textbooks, and was out of the door within seconds, her small backpack bouncing on her shoulders, as she ran down the corridor trying to find her way out of the dreaded school. Opening the front office door, she ran into the car park, searching for one of her friends to drive her home. Sophie spotted the figure sitting at the bottom of the steps and called out, "Amaya?" She made her way down the bottom of the steps. At the sound of her name, Amaya turned around, seeing Sophie stood up. "Hey, Sophie, I'm sorry I won't be able to drive you home today," Amaya said, running the back of her neck. Sophie's smile fell right off her face. "What? Why?" Sophie said, confused. Amaya knew that Sophie couldn't find her way home alone. "I may or may not have talked back to the teacher during a class argument," Amaya said sheepishly, "which then landed me in after-school detention." Sophie groaned. "You're an idiot." Amaya smiled. "Yeah, I get that a lot. You know my dad will get angry if I come home late." Sophie whined. Amaya rolled her eyes. "Come on, you better start walking before it gets dark." Amaya smiled before walking back inside the school, leaving Sophie to figure out what she was supposed to do. Sophie started making off her way home, knowing she was probably going to get lost. Finding her way into town, she figured herself lost. She was about to turn to the corner, thinking that her house was around there somewhere, but was surprised when she came face to face with a guy. "Oops, sorry," she said, maneuvering around him. "Watch it," he mumbled. Sophie turned back around, glaring at the back of the rude stranger. She said sorry, didn't she? She watched him turn the corner into an alley. Still glaring at him, she stood there for a couple of seconds, still glaring at where he once stood before she turned around. The gunshot rung out in Sophie's ears. Even if she had them covered, her inner instincts made her crouch down, in a protective squat with her eyes closed. Peeling open her eyes, she realized that no one had been aiming a gun at her. She stood up, feeling quite embarrassed. Before she noticed that nobody was on the street, she let out a sigh. Then she paused. Wasn't there a guy a few seconds ago? Her eyes widened when she realized this. Glancing at the alley he was standing outside, she ran forward. Pausing outside the alley, she froze. The man from before lay on the ground, blood weeping from his chest and his eyes rolled back. Sophie started down at him with a look of grief and horror. "Hey,